I don't mind disturbing the audience, but disturb means that you are obliged to think about what's right and what's not right, or what's wrong. I read some articles about Tim Krabbe's travels to America, and I was interested because he was writing also about filmmaking in America when he was as a journalist. And it became a little book which I read, and out of that book I made a movie in Texas. And then he started writing the original Vanishing, Het Gouden Ei in Dutch. And because it played in France for part of it, he asked me about names of towns, and I advised him on a number of things, the names of the family, etc. And I was reading at the same time manuscript, the first chapter, and then the second chapter as he wrote. And I think he was only on chapter 3 when I said, I want to buy the film rights. Then I said, well, who's going to write the script when you're finished with the book? And he said, I will do that. And I said, okay. And he did, and it was not bad, but it was not good. So I said, well, let's write the second draft together, which we did, and the third draft. And on the third draft, we got a lot of difference of opinions about tragedy and about what should happen. So we had a lot of fights about, you could say, the placing of scenes and the way to tell dramatically from a film point of view compared to I would say, a literary point of view. So I kicked him off the script. I said, I bought the rights, now you go and I'll finish myself. And he was very angry, which lasted for a long period. I got a tip from a casting lady who told me, you know, I have seen a play with a student play, and in there was a girl which I think you should see for the role. She knew about the script. And so I invited this girl who came from nowhere in the east of Holland, was I think a second or third year student in the smallest theatre school in Holland, and asked her to come to my office. Now she had one advantage, that she had slightly red hair, blonde red, and I wanted Saskia to have more or less the color of hair of my own daughter. And I said, well, I think I have the right actress, just on the color of the hair. Okay, we talked, and I guess I felt that she was the right person.
Kijk, je vois un arbre.
Un arbre.
Incroyable. Encore un arbre.
And on Rex, I had choice between two actors, a Dutch actor and this Belgian actor. One advantage he had was that he spoke both Flemish, Dutch and French. And the other, I would say, Dutch actor spoke French but less. So I hesitated and chose Jean Barefoots.
Bonne continuation, les gars.
With him, I had sometimes in my head the question, did I make the right choice? He could feel that I had sometimes maybe a vague hesitation, and it would disturb him. So we had to sort it out, like two, I would say, 6 psychiatrists finding where the disease is and how you get over it, because once something is planted in someone's mind, it's very difficult to get it out. If I would say you're the only actor who can play this, you're the best actor and the only actor, he would say you're lying. And the actor must believe he's the only actor, and he must believe he's the best actor. And that's part of directing, I would say.
Die kant op.
The main part, maybe, on which everything is really built is the part of Le Morne. And I wanted originally Trintignant to play the part, but he was off working for a period of a year. So I had to think about other actors, and then while thinking of different French actors, I remembered, I would say, an extra or with one line or two lines in Twice a Woman, the film which I made with Tony Perkins and Bibi Anderson, which was done 10 years before. And this extra, which came from nowhere and played a little part in Saint-Tropez in a little scene, I remembered how he threw away the cigarette he was smoking. They were like flirting with two ladies. And I said, oh, that's someone who can put in throwing a cigarette away a whole character. And I said, well, I must find out what he did in 10 years. And apparently he had done a lot of television and first roles. In the meantime, become an actor. I met him, asked him to read. He liked the story very much. He said, I want to do it. And that settled the case. He was a very temperamental actor, very good friend. One day, terrible the next day, because then he would be either violent or disagreeing or something. But he really understood the part. But he was tough on Johanna, for example, in the beginning. So I said, you can't do that anymore. If you annoy her, you're going to have to deal with me. I put him in a corner. I said, and now you just stay there for a few hours with your head against the wall. And he was not used to being treated like that, because you don't do that with known actors. So he started to respect me.
Dernière équation, acide benzoïque.
I don't think it's in the book, but I decided that he was interested in chemistry. And chemistry means that you try. You see, if you put something in a glass and another one, then it becomes hard, it becomes crystallized, or it changes color. So he was affected by these interesting phenomena.
54 secondes. 6 minutes 54 secondes de sommeil égale 27 kilomètres, à peu près.
When he's on the balcony and looks down, what I guess everybody has done, be it in a swimming pool when you want to jump and you don't know if it's too high. I think that in this case he has a book in front of him which deals with chemistry, which you can't see, but it makes the kind of a link to the idea, can I jump? Who said I can't jump? This is only 2.5 meters or 3 meters high. So all these things went through his head, and decides to defy, you could say, the common and the fact that you shouldn't, and that there is nothing which forbids you not to try.
Ce genre de pensée, tout le monde en a, mais personne ne saute jamais.
Now, I must say, a lot of what I'm telling now has to do with me, because I was such a child who would defy anything. So it was not difficult for me to imagine Le Morne in that kind of situation, defying philosophical normality, let's say, and destiny and so on. Obviously, he understood very well the part. You're intelligent, but you have no conscience. So you don't think the same way as a Norman person who has something which says, no, I am not going to kill this person. So the moment that his daughter says, you're a hero, Daddy, you're fantastic, you saved a child from drowning,
Papa, t'es un héros. C'était comme ça, sans réfléchir.
he thinks, am I a hero? Am I so good as my daughter thinks? Well, to know that, I have to prove that I'm not able to do something bad.
Ma fille était béate d'admiration. Et je me suis dit que son admiration pour moi n'avait aucune valeur tant que je ne m'étais pas prouvé que j'étais absolument incapable de commettre une mauvaise action. Et comme le noir n'existe pas sans le blanc, je me suis logiquement représenté la chose la plus horrible que je pouvais imaginer à ce moment-là.
I only believe in grey and not in black and in white. So I think everybody has all the tendencies in them, and it's how you play with them and how you show it. So in this case, obviously, I wanted the villain to be nice and even to have the hero, in this case Rex, be unnice. He leaves his girlfriend in a tunnel where she's frightened to get gasoline, but he leaves her when she says, don't leave me alone, don't leave me alone. She's not stupid, so she realizes that he has something in him which is not so nice. That he plays games in some ways to avoid the anxiety of that she might say one day, maybe in 2 years or 5 years, you know, Rex, I think it's boring, I don't want to see you anymore because you're not an interesting person. Aye, that's too bad. So to avoid that, he has his little tricks. The word suspense always was quite somewhere in my head, but it was not number one, I would say, in the writing. I guess in the making, I was more conscious, more involved with, let's say, building suspense, and it was in the script, you could say, but you have to play it or make it so that you feel it. Do I know this? Does he know that? Does she? Whatever. So that knowing and not knowing becomes effective. It's also objects having a value in that suspense. Is that truck important or not important? The extras, use of extras in the gas station, it's very calculated. I mean, is Saskia there or not there? Where is she? Is she in that toilet or in that toilet? Is she in the bath? Whatever. And you even make a trick when you see someone looking like her and you say, there she is. No, it's not her. So it's obviously playing little games with the audience so that they keep wanting to find something, to know where something is, to know what happens. Saskia! There is an urge in a human being to want to know. So you can want to know, let's say, on a philosophical level, on an intellectual level, on an emotional level, on a fundamental human level, and I think that's very important. When she disappears, that is the film plays on those different kinds of wanting to know. As the film unravels, then later you are interested in the how. That's mainly towards the end, because there are signs telling and not telling.
Je m'empresse de vous dire que pour moi le pire, ce n'est pas tuer.
There's a dialogue line when he's in the car with Rex Lemorne, and he says, well, there's something worse than killing. Killing is nothing. That's for normal people do that, but I'm above those stupid things, and you wonder what could be worse than kill.
C'était un mauvais contact.
Vous ne portiez pas votre ceinture de sécurité, monsieur.
For a claustrophobic person, the worst thing you can imagine is to die like he does with her.
Je suis claustrophobe.
You know he's claustrophobic. So the clues are given bit by bit, but you only know it when Rex really gets in there. They are, I would say, like Romeo and Juliet, the couple is united in death and forever. The film was, to tell you the truth, was not discovered because I could not get a distributor for more than a year. After having been also in Cannes, no one was interested, no one. Not Miramax, and none of the other English, whatever you were, nobody. So what happened was that the Sydney Festival missed a film, and the director, who I knew vaguely, said, "I thought you made a film, George. We miss a film in the program because something was cancelled. Is that so? And can you send it?" And I said, "Yes, I did make a film," and he didn't know it. So I went to Sydney, and the film was shown. There's only one prize, and that's the Audience Award, and the film got it. And that was the start, I could say, of the life of The Vanishing. Stanley Kubrick asked Johanna to play in his next movie. I mean, he saw the film. He was, I must say that to my own pleasure, he's the biggest fan. He was the biggest fan of Sporos. He saw it, I think, 10 times and called me when I was working in Los Angeles, telling me about, and we discussed the film shot by shot and everything. And I remember that he said, "You know, it's the most terrifying film I've ever seen in my life." And I said, "But have you seen The Shining?" And he said, oh, that's just child's play compared. I mean, that's not frightening at all compared to your movie. I said, "Well, it's very funny, the coincidences, because The Vanishing is an unexisting word. You have the word vanish, the verb, but The Vanishing I invented because I wanted to make a reference to The Shining, which does not exist either as a word." I think The Vanishing has a universal, long-lasting quality because it treats of a lot of subjects which are still valid today. Maybe even on some levels more valid today than when the film was made. People who disappear. Today we have 200 girls in Africa disappearing. We have them in all kinds in places. We have a lot of, let's say, physical violence coming up. So you could say my philosophical violence, if I can put it this way, resonates against the violence of this today world.